Johnston.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my question's to the Treasurer. Treasurer, the Northern Territory has gone backwards on 7 of the 19 closing the gap targets, and only half of them are on track. What specific funding is there in this budget that addresses successive governments' failures to make progress on closing the gap targets that affect 30% of our everyday Territorians?
Treasurer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the member for the question. And it's when we talk about the budget and what we've delivered just yesterday and what it means for Territorians, and I'll say it again, this budget is for all Territorians. We've continued to deliver the services across those ministerial portfolios that deliver the services, whether it be through health, children and families, of course education, through the justice system, through corrections. Every portfolio in this chamber crosses over some of those closing the gap targets. And there's money in all of those budgets to deliver on those closing the gap targets. But it's not just money, Madam Speaker. There's work that's required to be done by people on the ground. And it's not a matter of just throwing money at things and hoping that they'll get fixed, because we've seen that all too often, Madam Speaker. The idea has been to solve the problem, we'll just throw some money at it and make an announcement and hope that something happens. And I've seen that, Madam Speaker, in my time within government when I worked with corrections. Closing the gap targets are very important and they are very real, and we need to work on closing those gap targets across every portfolio. And I know that every portfolio, every agency has been funded appropriately to deliver on those closing the gap targets where they fit within every minister's responsibility. And I have no doubt that every minister in this room feels the same way as I do about closing the gap. But there is a lot of work to be done there, and not just a matter of throwing extra money at it. It's about being smarter how we use that money, being smarter about how we use those resources, and making sure that when we're working on those closing the gap targets, that those resources are targeted and functional with real outcomes. Because it's all too easy, Member for Johnston, just to throw some cash out there. Oh, I'm going to throw another $10 million to Minister Carl to do some stuff with children and families. But without actual targets and responsibilities and outcomes aligned with that funding, then we're just throwing money for nothing. So within our agencies, they're all funded appropriately, they're all funded to do those closing the gap targets. And what every minister is doing is making sure that the funding that is there is targeted, that we're seeing outcomes for the funding that is there, that money is not being wasted, and that there are real outcomes for that funding. So I'll reiterate, it's not just a matter about throwing money out there and hoping for the best, because previous governments have done that, and where have we got ourselves? Those targets are worsened. So our agencies and our ministers are doing the work to make sure that that funding is used appropriately and we see some real outcomes.